The red flag warnings will expire this evening, though it'll still be occasionally breezy over the weekend. Temperatures will be cooling down into the low to mid 80s.
And this is something that we don't have in our community currently, but it just gives us another option.
A local group moves ahead with plans to build tiny homes, helping those experiencing homelessness in Spokane.
I hate being in that courtroom. I hate people protecting evil.
Then, the family of one of the Moscow murder victims speaks out, one day after the judge lifts the gag order on the case.
Well, good evening and thanks for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5. I'm Amanda Rowley in for Mark Hanrahan. Well, we have a weather impact alert day in effect and we're expecting hot temperatures and gusty winds. Meteorologist Michelle Boss is joining us live with a preview. Michelle, what can you tell us?
Yeah, it's been a hot day today. We've seen temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s, and we have had some wind gusts between 25 and 35 miles per hour. Still expecting those conditions. The temperatures will be cooling down a little bit this evening. Still expecting those gusty winds. Red flag warnings will remain in place until 10 o'clock tonight and then expire. Things are looking a little bit better for the weekend. As we take a look at current sustained wind speeds, still pretty breezy in Spokane. A southwest wind at 20 miles per hour, and we saw a wind gust right around 30 miles per hour just last hour. So again, that red flag warning in effect for much of the inland northwest until 10 o'clock tonight for that low relative humidity and those gusty winds. We are seeing a little bit more cloud cover. Don't expect much in the way of wet weather, maybe a few sprinkles in those northern mountains, but otherwise we're looking at just a little bit of clouds moving through as a cold front moves through that will make it feel a little bit more comfortable this weekend. We're in the upper 80s right now in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, upper 80s in St. Mary's, lower 90s in Pomeroy, 96 in Lewiston, 91 in Moses Lake. Short-term forecast keeps it pretty toasty through the evening. Temperatures will bottom out in the 60s overnight, and we're looking at highs in the low 80s tomorrow with mostly sunny skies, still a little bit breezy. 80 and partly sunny on Sunday and a slight chance of showers. Just a few drops, it looks like, Sunday night into Monday. Mostly cloudy skies, highs around 80.
All right, thank you, Michelle. A neighborhood in Spokane Valley had to shelter in place during a standoff this morning. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones has an update after a suspect was caught and arrested.
Well, yeah, we're here at the Valley 206 apartments, and this morning residents and anyone in the immediate area received a notification on their phone telling them to shelter in place. It was all due to a SWAT standoff, and once we arrived here on the scene, we were getting some footage capturing some of those elements, and right next to us, that's when this suspect started to make a run. He was trying to hop a fence, and then you can see footage with the SWAT crews running right towards our direction.
Whoa! And then, of course, from there on out, I think the SWAT team ended up getting him. But before they got him, I saw, I guess it was snipers up there on that tree.
And shortly after that, they were able to take this suspect into custody. A few moments later, they started to clear the scene, and another notification sent out to residents and anyone in the area, letting them know the shelter in place was officially lifted. For now, reporting here in Spokane Valley, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
And today is Larry Haskell's last day as the Spokane County Prosecutor. He has been serving in this role for more than 10 years. He took office back in 2015 and was reelected for a third term back in November 2022. In a letter shared with the Spokane County Board of County Commissioners last month, he said it's time to retire and it has been an honor to serve the community. A local advocacy group, Waters Meet Foundation, officially got the ball rolling for a new project aimed at helping those experiencing homelessness. KREM 2's Christian Garza met with the organization about this new transitional housing and the timeline the community could expect.
By the end of this year, this property right here behind me on Spokane's West Hill will be the site of a tiny home village, something Waters Meet Foundation calls the future of transitional housing here in the Inland Northwest.
If you've driven past 7th Avenue and Audubon on Government Way, you've likely seen this acre of dry brush. However, this former RV park is set to become a one-of-a-kind tiny home village aimed at being a transitional stepping stone for those living in an emergency shelter to finding permanent housing.
So this isn't a shelter.
Leroy Eady, the vice president of programs for Waters Meat Foundation, says the development will be on land owned by the foundation and have space for about 70 square foot units with air conditioning and heating, 2 community spaces with a communal kitchen, and 3 restrooms with showers.
This is for folks that have experienced homelessness that in a preferred scenario would be coming from a shelter and being referred to the sites.
Eady says since this pilot development is still in the preliminary stages, it's still unclear what organizations will operate the project and how it will be funded. In the meantime, the foundation hopes to meet with community members and neighbors living near the project to come up with a solid layout and site plan by next month.
It is a difficult puzzle, and we have lots of different ways to try to solve it. And here's our latest little opportunity to be able to provide that hope for folks that are experiencing homelessness.
Off-camera neighbors tell KREM 2 while they understand what Waters Meat Foundation is trying to do to help these individuals, they don't want this development quite literally in their front yard. One woman even going as far as saying they've considered moving. Eady says while he had a chance to speak with these neighbors, he wants to reiterate this is not a permanent development for the area and is only a pilot program to see what's most helpful for people needing transitional housing.
It could be that there's another location that this is better needed. And the nice thing about these temporary structures, the restrooms and the community buildings and the tiny homes themselves, they can all be moved.
Eady says the foundation will continue to work with the city to get this tiny home village up and running by early October.
Waters Meat Foundation says it wants to collaborate with community members and neighbors here on Spokane's West Hill. So to do that, they're going to be holding a development meeting later on this month that everyone can attend and give feedback at. We have the link on when it is and where it is up on our website, KREM.com. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Brand new tonight, we're hearing from the family of Kaylee Gonsalves, one of the victims in the Moscow murder case, one day after the gag order in this case was lifted.
No,
Not at all.
He's showing zero remorse. Not one bit. He's like a robot, a killing robot.
Hear what her parents have to say as they wait for next week's sentencing and their chance to give victim impact statements. Then, movement today on the Epstein files. Find out what the president has ordered.